Welcome back to the Benniebarre Pilates studio. For today's mat session, we are going to be working with the magic circle. We're going to begin supine down on the back. We're going to take that magic circle and place the legs in between. So the handles are just to the outside of the knees and we're coming flat down onto the back. Now we're going to tap the toes down and return back to tabletop. And while we're doing so, we want to make sure that we don't lose neutral pelvis. So we don't want to get air underneath the spine like this, reaching up and letting the pelvis move back and forth. We want to maintain that neutral spine, neutral pelvis. So if you're unable to maintain that while tapping the toes the whole way down, just go as far as you can. Extending the arms outward, fingertips facing out towards the feet. We're tapping down and returning back up. We're going to inhale as we tap the toes down, exhale as we draw everything back up, knees over top of the hips. And the entire time, to maintain that shape of the circle, we're gently pressing out into the circle. Now we're going to extend the legs out straight and then bend back into that tabletop position. Extending out straight and bending back in. We're making sure here to maintain that neutral pelvis. We don't want to be extending, reaching through the spine, and that gets more challenging as we reach the legs away here. So we want to make sure that our rib cage doesn't flare, we're not getting air underneath the spine, but we're holding everything in a neutral place while we reach out and away and draw back in. So this takes a lot of focus and mindfulness and being aware of ourselves here. Reaching the arms up overhead, we're going to lift up now into the 100. Peel up head, neck, and shoulders. Extend the arms straight out with the legs reaching out towards 45 degrees. Inhaling for 5 pulses and exhaling for 5. You can also modify here by keeping those legs bent in a tabletop position with the knees pressing out into the magic circle. So this entire time that we've got our legs extended, we're also gently pressing into that circle, which really adds a little something here. We're taking 10 sets of inhale for 5, exhale for 5 to get to our 100. Go ahead and roll back down now. And right here, we're just going to gently press out into the circle and return, keeping our knees over top of our hips in this tabletop position. We're pressing into the circle and then releasing back in. Exhale as you press out. Good. Removing the circle now, we're taking the handles to the inside of the knees, and now we're squeezing the legs in and opening out. Still with the knees over top of the hips and still in this bent tabletop position of the legs, squeezing in and releasing out. Now we need to focus on pressing evenly through both legs, otherwise our circle will pop or fly out. Removing the circle here and lengthening the legs out long, we're taking the circle up overhead, inhaling to prepare, and on the exhalation, we're coming into the roll up where we reach beyond the toes and then maintaining that C curve of the spine, we're going to roll back down the same way that we came. Inhale, lengthening with that circle up overhead, and exhale as we peel up one vertebrae at a time, reaching out. And we are coming back down, melting down through the spine one vertebrae at a time. So exhale as you peel up, inhale as you reach forward over top of the toes, and exhale rolling back down the way that you came. There will be some little modifications later that if a full roll-up isn't working for you, you'll be able to do some sort of variation coming up here in a minute. And we're just using that magic circle to hold the shape of our arms. You can even give a little gentle press or engagement to really draw in that upper body with this abdominal movement here. Remember to keep a nice steady flow of breath, and we're exhaling on the exertion of that movement, which is when we roll up and when we roll back. And we're inhaling on the lengthening portions, when we're reaching forward and when we're lifting the circle up overhead. We really want to use the exhalation of the breath to help drive us through those difficult points in the rolling movement. rolling back down here. Exhale, roll forward and reach. And now we're going to stack up tall through the spine, sitting upward. Okay, now we're taking that magic circle and we're going to bring it underneath the legs, so just below the knees towards the feet. So we want the handle on the floor and the other handle up towards the ceiling. And right here, we're going to inhale to prepare and then exhale as we scoop and hollow and round back. And then we're going to reach up and stack up tall through the spine. So if you struggle with exercises like the roll up, we're going to use this magic circle, pressing our legs down to keep it steady, and it can kind of come with us and give us a grip to hold on to. So you can get deep into those abdominal muscles while you're scooping and hollowing and rounding back, and the magic circle can assist and help you here. So keep those legs and feet pressing into the mat, and as you're rolling back, just let that circle come with you while you scoop backwards and then stack up tall. We're going to stack up, reaching nice and tall, hips coming straight up, or shoulders coming straight up out of the hips. Stacking tall, and then scoop, scoop, scoop as if you've been punched in the belly, and reach up nice and tall. Good. Next, we're going to move into the spine stretch. So we're going to take that circle down towards the ankles, and we're going to turn it here so that we've got a handle on either side of our feet. And we're going to take the legs and press them out into the circle, and we're going to flex actively through the heels, really push out into that circle. Arms come straight out from the shoulders, and we're going to reach up and over and then stack up tall through the spine, nice and tall. So tucking the chin to chest, we're going to roll out forward, trying to reach our hands beyond the circle, and then stacking up nice and tall. So right here, I'm just taking my arms to the outside and over top of the circle, and then lifting up nice and tall. My legs and hips are staying nice and engaged because I'm actively pushing out in that circle, and I'm just articulating, reaching long through the spine, and then stacking up nice and tall, one vertebrae at a time. Now I'm going to focus on reaching my hands through the circle, so tucking the chin to chest and reaching through. So I'm tucking a little bit closer to my legs here, a little bit of a different focus here, and I'm going to try to reach my hands through the circle and then stack up tall. Good. So really think about a rolling motion, tucking the chin and rolling out and down and across, and then stacking up nice and tall. Bringing the hands down towards the mat now. We're going to take that circle and we're going to place it to the outside of the ankles, just above the ankles here, lying down on the back, and we're going to reach the legs out long and go into our roll over. Flexing through the feet, we'll roll down through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Extend the legs back out towards 45 degrees and point through the toes. Roll over, flex the heels, and roll back down through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Really actively press those hands into the mat. You're going to get your triceps working here in these inversion exercises where we're rolling over quite a bit. So day after this exercise, totally feeling those triceps like crazy with everything that we're doing here. Now, typically in the rollover exercise, we're changing the position of the legs, drawing them together and then taking them about hip distance apart, but we're keeping them at the same distance, actively pressing into that circle the entire time, and we're just changing the toes. So we're going to point while we reach over and flex as we come down. Now, removing that circle, we're going to take the circle to the inside of the ankles. So now we're pressing, squeezing in, and we're going to roll over here, flexing on the way down, pointing on the way up. But we're just trying to hold that position of the circle, so we're keeping our legs the same distance and actively squeezing in to hold that circle in place. We want to make sure that this is a peeling and rolling exercise and not a thrusting movement. And you'll also want to take precautions here with these inversion exercises. Make sure that the weight of your body is coming into your shoulders, not into your head and neck. And if you should avoid inversions, you're definitely going to want to stay away from the rollover. Good. Go ahead and bend in the legs. We're going to remove the circle. Come to seated for a moment. Place the circle down and then place the right ankle just above the ankle over top of the circle, lengthen the leg out long, and the left leg is reaching towards the sky. We're going into single leg circles. So we're gonna actively press through that right leg into the circle while we circle the left leg out, around, and straight up. We're coming to external circles first, taking to the outside, around, down, and straight up. Keep that active engagement by pressing that active leg into the circle. We're gonna go in the other direction, circling over top of that standing leg, down, around, and out to the side. Really hold that engagement by the foot that's on the circle, pressing down. Good, now hold that leg there. The right leg that's on the circle, we're gonna take pulses, pushing down into the circle while we keep the left leg straight and extended directly over top of the hip. Good, now lift the arms up overhead and roll forward if you can out of that position. And we're gonna switch the circle, bringing the left foot onto the circle. And as you roll back, you wanna make sure that you're positioned over top of the circle and can have the leg straight. Right leg reaches up towards the sky, and we're gonna start those external rotations, circle out, around, and up. And holding, trying to keep that steady engagement of pressing down into the circle through the left leg. Easier said than done. Switch directions, internal rotation of that single leg circle. Good, keep that leg straight up towards the sky. Left leg presses into the circle for little pulses. Press and release. Lift the arms up overhead and roll forward, bringing the right leg down and lifting up tall. We're gonna get into rolling like a ball in just a minute. So we're gonna take one handle and place it outside of our seat. One handle is gonna come behind the ankles, so it's gonna help us to maintain that position from feet to seat. First, we're gonna tap the toes down and then lift up. So we're squeezing that magic circle in place. You can just take your arms out to the side. We're working that core, those lower abdominals in particular, are pulling that up. It's hard to keep that magic circle in position, so you can even hold on to the outside of the circle there. Tap the toes down, lift up, try to bring the knees a little bit closer to your chest. Good, now we're gonna change position slightly. So we're gonna take those handles out to the outside and we're gonna tuck the circle between the booty and the back of the heels right here. And we're gonna hold onto those handles, C-curve through the spine, and we're gonna roll back and then lift forward. So we're gonna inhale as we're rolling back and exhale on the way forward. If you find yourself tipping forward and tapping the toes down to the mat, that's fine, just tap the toes and lift right back up. Otherwise, we're gonna try to maintain this ball situation here, the positioning of ourselves right here into this ball while we go through this whole rolling process. So we're C-curved through the spine. We wanna keep the same distance from the knees to the chest and the same distance from the heels to the glutes, which we're holding that position with the circle and giving us a little extra challenge and a little extra help to get us into the mindset of holding the position of the ball the entire time. Next, we're gonna come into the open leg rocker. So we're gonna place the handles in between the ankles and then lift and extend the legs out long, holding on around the calf. And we're going to C-curve through the spine, roll back, and then as we rock up, we're gonna straighten through the spine. So you'll C-curve when you roll back, but rather than holding the shape of the ball, you're gonna bring the back straight as if you were in a teaser at the top. Here we're gently pressing into that magic circle here as we hold on to that open leg shape, giving us a little extra something and a little extra challenge here. We want to inhale on the way back and exhale on the way forward. The open leg rocker can be very challenging to balance, and it is so much easier when you get that breath flow pattern down. Inhaling back, exhaling up, and lifting through the chest. Go ahead and lower down the legs, and then we're gonna lift up. We're just gonna place our fingertips onto the mat and keep that V shape slightly leaned back with a flat back here, and lower down the legs and lift up. We're going to use the exhalation to lift and float the legs up, and then just tap that magic circle down to the floor and lift again. From here, we're going to just lower the legs, and we're going to reach forward and grab onto that circle. Now we're going to bend the elbows and take the magic circle straight out from the sternum and just press evenly through both arms, working through the adductors here, and just squeezing that magic circle with bent elbows. Exhale on the squeeze and inhale on the release. Keep a nice steady flow of breath and really concentrate on pressing evenly from both arms so that you can maintain that circle. Next, we're going to move into the saw with the magic circle. So we're going to twist off to the side, and then we'll release the magic circle on the front hand, take the circle to the back arm with us as we reach forward. So on the front arm, we're going to think about the pinky finger going beyond the pinky toe, twist, reach, magic circle comes back behind, lift up, reset, twist back to the center, and then twist off to the other side. Nice and controlled, making sure that we're twisting first and then reaching. Twist, reach, lift, center, twist, reach, lift, center. When we're working through our twisting exercises, we want to make sure that the hips and the feet aren't shifting back and forth, and that twist is coming just through the torso. So if you can use the circle here to really keep straight out in front of you and visualize that twist just through the circle and have it help you as a guide, and just add a little something different to the exercise. Now, bringing those legs together, we're going to take the circle up overhead, and we're going to squeeze at the top with the arms framing the face. Elbows rounded here, we're not straightening or locking out, and we're just squeezing up overhead and making those pec muscles jump. Strong exhale through the exertion of the squeeze and inhale on the release. Now we're going to flex through the heels and go into the spine twist. Legs are still zipped together here. We're going to twist off to the side and return center. Exhale, twist to the left, return center. We're keeping that magic circle up overhead and thinking about guiding the twist from the arms up overhead. Again here, we want to make sure in this exercise, in particular when we're twisting, that the hips are not shifting back and forth. Now take that magic circle straight out in front of you, and we're going to bring the wrist to the inside of the circle and actively press out to hold that circle there. We're going to continue through the spine twist here, just taking it in a different location for us. A dead giveaway that you're shifting through the hips when you twist off to the side would be your feet shifting back and forth, one coming forward and one going back. So we want to make sure that we're anchored down through the hips and through the ankles, and we're just reaching those arms out long, pressing out into the circle, twisting just through the torso and returning. This isn't a huge movement, it's just an active twist through the spine, and we don't want to try to force it further and compensate with a lower body. Here's what I'm talking about with that shifting. You can see my hips moving around because you can see my feet coming into different positions. We want to keep them stable. Next, we're coming into some abdominal focused work. So we're going to come down onto the back, lift the legs into tabletop, peel up head, neck, and shoulders, and go into the single leg stretch. Here with the magic circle, we're going to be holding onto it and taking the circle through the forward knee as we reach the other leg out long. Keep a nice steady flow of breath here. You can think inhaling for 1 and 2 legs, or you can inhale and exhale, switching every time. Coming into the double leg stretch here, we're going to take that magic circle and sit it on top of our shins, reach the legs and the arms out, and then return to that ball shape. Arms come up overhead to frame the face, and then they just come back in. We're holding onto that circle as a guide, which will keep our arms in a nice alignment as we come up and frame the face. And we reach the legs away to 45 degrees and draw everything back in. Make sure that you're not swaying through the back and that you keep your chin tucked with your gaze forward and you're not straining through the neck looking up at the ceiling. Your extension of the arms past your head as you're framing the face is just going to depend on how much mobility you have in your shoulders. So just continue here. We'll go ahead and rest, bring that down, just bring that circle over top of the knees and give a little rock from side to side, a little back massage as you take those knees from side to side right here. Small break before we move on to our next exercise, still focusing on the abdominals. We're coming next into the single straight leg stretch. So we're going to peel up head, neck, and shoulders with the magic circle up above us in the air. We're going to straighten both legs. And we're going to focus on kicking the forward leg into the magic circle as we hold it in space and reaching the other one long and away. Now bending through the legs, we are going to put the magic circle in between our ankles and go into the double straight leg stretch. So we're keeping our head, neck, and shoulders lifted, our gaze is forward, chin tucked, our hands are behind the head, elbows wide, and we're reaching the legs out and drawing back in. Now we want to make sure that we keep a neutral pelvis here and that we're not getting air underneath the spine, the pelvis isn't swaying back and forth. So we're lowering down with control to make sure that we can stabilize that and then drawing back up. So this is not about taking the legs from the floor and kicking them up, it's reaching out and then returning. Go ahead and lower down head, neck, and shoulders. Hold the legs up to 90 degrees and squeeze through the magic circle here. Nice pulses working through the inner thighs, and we're just relaxing through the abdominals and relaxing the head down. Now reach out and grab the circle. We're moving next into the crisscross. So we're gonna lift up and we're gonna take that magic circle to the outside of the bent knee while the other one reaches away. So this is like single leg stretch, but we're adding a twist through the torso. Normally we would be taking that elbow and focusing on taking it to the outside of the knee. Now we've got our arms long and extended and we're thinking about twisting enough through the spine that we can take the magic circle to the outside of the bent knee. Drawing everything back in, and we're going to take a different play on the crisscross. We're going to bring that magic circle behind the head, so we're just holding on right there, and then going into a more traditional crisscross, bringing the elbow to the outside of the knee while we're guiding through the magic circle and we're supporting our neck with it. Make sure here that you're not tugging through the neck by pulling on the circle. We're just holding on as a guide right here and adding a little bit of support. So if you feel like you need extra support for the head, the magic circle is a good tool for that. Bringing the circle around the knees, we're going to give a little gentle rock from side to side. We're going to move next into the corkscrew with the magic circle around the ankles. So handles to the outside of the ankles. We're going to reach the legs out to 45 degrees and we'll twist off to the left, coming into that rollover position, twist and shift the ankles out to the side and then roll down with a leg sweeping to the right. Now we're going to sweep up, circle to the right, twist off to the left, and then roll down to that side. So we want to make sure here that we twist off, we come into this rollover shape, and then we hold there and shift the feet to our right side and then circle the legs down. Really important here that you feel comfortable with the rollover or inversion exercises when you add in this twisting through the spine here. We want to make sure that the weight is coming into the shoulders and not into the head or neck. Really great, nourishing twist through the spine. Bending the legs in, we're going to remove the magic circle and come to a seated position here. And then we're going to come into a prone position on the stomach for a couple of exercises here. We're going to first start lifting up through the swan. So we're going to lift up through the spine as we press down to the magic circle. Hands are just placed comfortably on the handle. One handle is down on your mat. The other handle is pointed up towards the sky with your hands on it. We're going to inhale as we lift, peel up one vertebrae at a time and press down through the magic circle, and then exhale as we melt the spine back down to the mat and release the magic circle. I prefer to take my legs wide here to the corners of the mat when I'm coming into these back extension exercises. Good, and rolling back down right here. Next, we're going to take this more advanced into a swan dive. So we're going to lift up into this swan shape with the circle pressing into the mat, and then we're going to lift the circle up as we dive forward, letting our feet lift. We want to be nice and round through the spine, and every time that we come back to catch ourselves, we're going to press that magic circle down into the mat to assist us in lifting up the chest, and then let the magic circle come forward as we dive forward. We want to be nice and round through the back there so that we feel like the rung of the bottom of a rocking chair. Go ahead and press back into a rest pose. Give the back a little release. And then we're going to thread the needle. Take the right hand underneath the left, drop the right shoulder and head to the mat. Do the same thing on the other side. And press back into rest pose or child's pose. Next, we're going to come back onto our stomach in a prone position, and we're going to put that magic circle out in front of us again. We'll place the right hand on the circle, and we're going to come into a slow swimmer here. So left hand, right foot are going to lift and reach out. We're going to focus on one side, while the opposite hand is pushing and balancing on that circle. We're concentrating on length through the limbs rather than on height, so we want to stay nice, long, and straight through the arm and the leg. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Left hand coming on top of the circle, right hand and left leg are lifting. We want it to be opposite arm, opposite leg. And the chest lifts up with the arm as well. We're getting some nice extension through the back. Now right here, keep the feet down, bring both hands up to the circle, and just release down the upper body, keeping the head in line with the spine. Let the arms stretch and reach up, being placed on the magic circle. And then we're going to slightly lift up the chest off the mat and press down through the circle. We want to be pressing evenly through both hands, pushing into that circle here. Sometimes when you're doing a mat class with the magic circle, there's a tendency for the magic circles to fly off to the side. And it happens when we're pressing more heavily through one side than the other. We want to press really evenly so our circle doesn't fly away, and also so we're working evenly through the body. The magic circle can point out some imbalances for us, and so it also invites us to correct them. Lower down the head and relax right here. Now bring that circle in a little bit closer and let the elbows bend out to the side. We're going to do the same thing with the elbows bent out to the side. So we're lifting up the chest and pressing down evenly through both hands. Previously, our arms were straight and we were pressing straight down. Now we're letting our elbows come out to the side and we're almost forming like a diamond with our arms here. Slightly different muscular focus. And relax the head back down. And from here, we're going to reach back into rest pose or child's pose and just take a couple breaths here. And lifting up to seated, we're going to grab that magic circle and roll down one vertebrae at a time till we're laying down on the mat with the magic circle up overhead. We're going to lift up into our teaser now. So we're inhaling as we're extending nice and long. On the exhale, tuck the chin to chest, roll and lift forward into teaser. We want to be in a V shape at the top, and the back's not rounded but flat at the top as we lift the legs to join. And we want to focus on lowering the upper and lower body at the same time and lifting the upper body and lower body at the same time. Now we're holding that circle and extending the arms outward. Think about lifting the legs up to meet the circle as your arms reach forward towards the legs. Inhale in preparation. Exhale, lift everything up. Inhale at the top and exhale as you're coming down with control. Every time we lift into teaser and lower out of teaser, that's our active working point. We're coming down with control and lifting up with control. We want to avoid any jerking motions. We want it to be nice and smooth and controlled through the abdominals and the use of our hip flexors here. The teaser can be quite challenging, but once you master the teaser, at least for me, it's become a favorite, even though it used to be quite difficult. Float one leg at a time up into a tabletop position, and then take that magic circle and bring it to the inside of the ankles. Reach the legs out long. We're gonna roll over and lift up into the jackknife, and then fold the legs back down and roll back down through the spine. For me, adding in the magic circle to the jackknife makes it way more challenging. It's much easier for me to lift up straight and tall when my legs are zipped together and connected, and this really adds a challenge to be pushing into a kind of unstable circle at the center. Exhale as you roll over, inhale, prepare, exhale, press and lift, fold the legs back down and roll down through the spine. Obviously, for moving into the jackknife, we need to feel really comfortable in that rollover and inversion exercises so that you can hold that and lift the legs with control. Let's go again here. I think each one progressively gets more difficult to lift up into that jackknife position as the legs begin to fatigue. Right here, we're going to stay in that rollover position, press into jackknife, lower the feet back down, and press up into jackknife again, eliminating the roll and just holding in this part of the exercise, and then roll down through the spine. Removing the magic circle and bringing it around the knees for a moment. Not easy, that jackknife with the magic circle. We're going to come next into some side planking work. So taking that magic circle in the right hand, left arm straight down on the mat, we're going to come into a side plank, make sure that the top leg is forward, and using that magic circle, we're going to twist and open up, reach the circle to the sky, and then we're going to look down towards the mat, place the circle on the mat, and press through it. Twist up with the circle, circle to mat, actively press through. Try to stay as stable in that side plank as possible while you are actively pressing into that circle. And then lift up, reach, and let your gaze follow where the circle is leading. Good, we'll go ahead and switch to the other side. Just a few on each side here. Top leg coming to the front, lift the circle to the sky, bring it down to the mat, and actively press through. Eyes follow the circle, and the eyes come down to the mat. Lift up to the sky with a circle, Reach down to the mat and press. Just giving you a little added challenge and twist up with your side planking work. Good, coming down right there. Next, we're gonna come into a front plank right here with our right hand on the magic circle, left hand on the mat. And we're gonna be pushing through just the right hand and trying to keep the hips as stable as possible here. Think about single arm push-ups on the chair as we're working through the circle. We're gonna bring the circle down, switch sides, bring it into our left hand, and press actively through the left hand. We're really needing to work hard through the body to stabilize through those other 3 points as we press and release the circle with control. Bringing the circle down, we're going to come down to the knees and push back into a rest pose or a child's pose. Next, we're going to come to standing for some push-ups. We're placing that magic circle on the mat, roughly where we would walk out to with our hands. Lift the arms up to the sky. Bring the arms down as you roll down through the spine. Plant the palms onto the ground and walk out, bringing the hands to the inside of the magic circle. Push up, pike the hips into the air, and walk the hands back with control, rolling up through the spine and lifting the arms to the sky. This time we're going to walk our hands to the outside of the magic circle, bringing the arms wider. Palms down to the mat, walk out with control, taking the hands to the outside of the circle, push up, pike the hips into the air, and walk the hands back. Roll up through the spine. So we're going to go back and forth with hands to the inside of the circle and outside of the circle to add a real challenge to our push-ups. As we walk out and keep the hands narrow, it becomes more challenging with that narrow push-up and then walk back with control. But when we bring the arms wide to the outside of the circle, the push-up becomes a little bit easier with the arms wide, but it's a lot harder to stabilize through the hips as we walk the arms back from this wide position. Make sure through all of your push-ups that the elbows are not coming out to the side. They are grazing the rib cage and they're coming straight back. Lift and roll up through the spine, lifting the arms up to the sky, bringing them down, tucking the chin to the chest, hands coming down to the floor, and walking out. We want to be really stable and steady through the hips as we're walking back with control. Keeping those legs straight is going to give us an amazing hamstring stretch right here. Obviously, that's going to depend on your flexibility through your low back and your hamstrings. If you can reach down and bring your hands flat to the floor while standing. If you find that you can't, just add a soft bend in your knees and then straighten out whenever you can as you're walking out, and then a gentle bend as you come back in. If you are regularly practicing Pilates, you will find that you will gain that flexibility to be able to keep the legs straight in the positions that you want to. But for the time being, if you need to add a bend because it's not physically possible, that's what you'll do and work forward from there. Always work from where you're at and treat your body with patience. Never give up on an exercise because you can't perform it in a perfect form. Work from where you're at and make good modifications. Rolling up and lifting those arms up to the sky. Well done. We're going to bend down here and come to hands and knees. And we're going to bring that magic circle into right at the sternum. And we're going to bring our hands to the outside of the magic circle handles and take some push-ups right here. The magic circle is going to be helping us. So if you're wanting to strengthen your push-ups, just bring that handle, one handle on the ground, one handle right at the sternum, and bring the hands to the outside of the handle that's on the ground, not too far forward. It's going to feel in this position like your hands are really far back, and that's where you want them to be. We want those elbows to go straight back, just grazing the rib cage. Good. Adding in a few more push-ups there, letting the magic circle help, and pressing into that rest pose. The magic circle is a great tool to use if you want to strengthen or even achieve full push-ups for the first time. We're going to come into some side lying work. So I'm coming down onto my left side with my left foot on the top of the handle, and then my right foot is on top of the top handle that's facing towards the ceiling. I'm keeping my knee facing forward, so I'm not externally rotated. My feet are parallel, and I'm pressing down here through that top leg. Now taking that top leg off of the circle, we're going to bring it in between the circle so that you're pressing into the handle on the top, and we're going to press up, lifting here, pushing out and stretching that circle. Now we're going to bend in the knees, coming to a fetal thigh position, and we're going to take that magic circle and bring in between the knees. This is going to be quite wide here, where we're going to squeeze that top leg down. It's going to feel like the parallel lift, but we're focusing on pushing down. So the magic circle is going to have to come a little bit higher than the knees here, and it's going to feel quite wide, and then pressing in that circle quite a bit. We're getting into the glutes right here. We want to make sure that the knees are kind of in a tabletop position, straight out from the hips, and that the shins are straight out facing forward, and that our ankle and knee is in the same line. You can lift your arm up overhead behind your head right here, or you can bring that top arm down onto the mat and press down for support, whichever feels more comfortable. Let's flip over and do those exercises on the other side. So now the right foot is coming inside the circle. You can see that it's just balancing the circle from the inside. The left foot is on the top of the handle and pressing down first, making sure that that knee's facing forward and not turned up to the sky. Now taking the foot to the inside of the circle and pressing up. It's a lot of resistance that you're pushing into with the circle, and it's not going to be a very high lift and doesn't need to be. Now bending the knees into that fetal thigh position, grab that circle and bring it in between the knees. And go ahead and squeeze that top knee down towards the bottom knee. We're actively working to stabilize the circle, and we're actively working through the glutes and the thighs here. Thanks so much for joining me for this Magic Circle Mat Pilates class. I trust that you will be feeling your body all over the place as a result of this workout today. On Patreon, you can join me in my online studio to learn all of the Mat Pilates exercises and be able to master that, and more full classes for the mat, spine corrector, Barre, Wunda chair, springboard, and reformer. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat today, and I'll see you guys next time in the studio.